Hey friends, welcome back to the Spark Spotlight series. Before we get into the episode this week with Polly Cannella, the founder of Lokii, I just want to talk about some highlights I felt from our conversation that I think are really important. One of the major things being the importance of building communities and cultures that drive people to work together to solve problems. Something that we'll talk about in the episode is how Lokii is actually trying to empower consumers and small businesses from kind of both angles to really make people feel like they are connected to something and building a culture and a community that's positive for their like town, city, local area. And those types of connections, collaborations, working together to do something bigger than ourselves, right? Like tackle a bigger problem than we can alone is super important and something we think about all the time at Lumastic. And I just think that that sentiment from Polly in this episode was just really strong. I'm really proud of the conversation that we had, and I hope you enjoy it. So without further ado, here is the Spark Spotlight on Polly Cannella and Lokii. Enjoy. All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Spark Spotlight series, and welcome Polly Cannella, founder and CEO of Lokii. Polly, I'm so excited to have you on this little like video podcast series we're doing to highlight members on the platform, because your story, what you're doing with Lokii, is like, I think, something so near and dear to my heart as somebody who's trying to support like entrepreneurship, small business, getting back to a sense of community and collaboration between people. So I'm really excited for this conversation. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much, Drew. I'm stoked to be here as well.
Yeah. Yay. All right. So for people who do not know, give us the rundown on like what Lokii is, what you're doing, like tell us a story.
So Lokii in itself is a local shopping and delivery app. So you can find items like clothing, home goods, gifts, and more. And all of the products on the platform are from local small businesses near you. And we actually also just recently launched local delivery as well. So you can get your products faster than Amazon, which is pretty amazing. So you can kind of think of it like an Amazon or an Etsy or something like that, but all of the products on the platform are from small businesses in your community.
Yeah, it's so freaking awesome. And when I talk to people about that last part is kind of what I say is like, imagine if like you had the convenience of Amazon, right? This like big platform, you're adding everything to your cart from a bunch of different merchants, and then you get to click like send, right? Like go. But instead of like all those products being by these big time retailers, like imagine if it was like literally your local stores, and it's all the same convenience, everything. They all get to basically like share the same cart. It's as if you've made a big box retailer out of like all of these local merchants, which I just think is so freaking awesome. So like, for people who like don't know, again, like why you've tackled this problem, like why you're passionate about it, like give us a little bit more about like your background, like tell us your story.
Sure. So I think it's multifaceted, like most things. My career started, I was a strategist and like account executive in marketing, for in-store marketing specifically for big brands like Oreo and Chips Ahoy and Trident and stuff like that. And there I kind of realized the robust technology that stores have at their disposal. These kind of bigger box stores like Target have at their disposal. They can kind of whip up apps in one night, and they can create all these really interesting, innovative technologies that I think small businesses just really don't have access to. I also think that while I found it really fascinating, I was also just trying to sell, 5 more packs of Oreo to a mom that's going to give it to her child. So it really didn't really align with what I wanted to do in life, but I did find it extremely fascinating at the time. So from there, I left the corporate world a few years ago, and then I've actually been a photographer since then. But that kind of stuck with me, and that fascination with the shopping journey stuck with me. And then from there, I had my own problem. I was frustrated that I couldn't find things near me. I can specifically remember, wanting, I think it was, a dress for a specific occasion, and thinking, why am I stuck online looking for this thing when there are thousands and thousands of dresses around me? I lived in Los Angeles at the time. And
Interesting.
I couldn't find, and I knew that there are designers, there are boutiques, there's vintage shops, there's so much stuff. But for me, I didn't have really the time at that moment to go around to every single specific shop, try everything on. And we did a lot of shopper interviews in the beginning before we even touched code, and talked to a lot of other people about their shopping journey. And they really felt the same way, that they'd like to support a small business, but it's just really difficult to do so. It's a way more arduous process, especially vintage and stuff like that. So really, I was just wondering, like, wow, that would be amazing if I could just see everything that's around me and be more actionable about it. And I think that when the pandemic hit, that really put the fire under us to do this now. Like, this was not something that we could wait on, because if we waited on it, there might not be the small businesses to save, frankly. So and we are losing businesses just in general at a fast rate at this time. So it's even, it's staying under us right now. So we started building it in January of 2020, so last year, and then actually launched our first beta in March of 2020. So kind of worked around the clock. Yeah, worked around the clock to pull that together, and that didn't have delivery at that point. But since then, we've been building features, launch as quickly as possible. That's kind of what we went with, and just recently, like I said, launched local delivery just, I want to say, 3 months ago. And since we've done that, we've just seen a really drastic increase in user engagement, conversion, all of that stuff. So delivery is one part of it. I think that there's a lot of, I think in essence, we really just want to provide a tech resource for small businesses that they don't have available otherwise.
Yeah, exactly. And to me, so just absolutely amazing. And to me, the second aspect of this is not only are you providing a technical solution so that these like smaller retailers, businesses, whatever, can compete, right? Like, because like as sad as it is, like we all like are so wrapped up in now the convenience of like the 2-day shipping. I can get anything from anywhere Amazon lifestyle, and so like you're empowering them to compete in that landscape, and also like empowering consumers too. Like I feel our generation, the whole like shop local idea is like baked kind of into who we are and want to be, right? We want to support our local communities, and you're making it more convenient on both sides now for like the businesses to play in that system, and also to reach the consumers that want to support them. And I just think that's amazing. And the second thing I want to tease out and talk to you about more is the idea of like, as you know, like the thing we think about all the time is how can we get people to sort of combine forces, collaborate on stuff to do things that we couldn't do just by ourselves. And you're kind of doing that with Main Street businesses in the town, like in the cities, right? Yeah. Because now they get to all like participate in this like big like local Amazon as if they were all in the same department store, right? They get to share the same shopping cart for the consumer and like all that said. To talk to me about how you think about that aspect of it and how you see it changing like the landscape of how we interact as consumers. Just like riff on that for me. Yeah, for sure. I think that one thing that we're really keen on is giving shoppers the power to vote with their dollar more transparently. And I think that shopping local is one of the best ways to do it. Not only because you know exactly where your money's going, it's going right to the shop owner, and then it is, going to their employees. That's great. Going into the tax system, that's the most obvious thing. But I think that also what you don't realize until you hop on Lokii and you look at all the products that are on there, they're not these, generally speaking, they're not just the generic products that you might find at Target where they're extremely mass-produced products. The products that they feature on there are also made by sometimes local makers and sometimes just makers in general. One-of-a-kind pieces, handmade pottery,
art pieces, vintage furniture, just a lot of things that that I like to think of it kind of like a waterfall. Whereas, if you buy from Target, it goes like this out of our community. It just goes straight out to Target, and that's where the money goes. Whereas if you buy from a small business, it's very much a trickle down kind of thing, where it's you buy from this small business, that money goes to the maker, that money goes back into the community. So it spreads out, it really diversifies where we spend our money when we shop from a local business. And I think putting all of those products on one platform just allows you to see the wealth of things that you can get locally. I think that was an experiment in and of itself, because we didn't really know what we were going to get back. We're like, I think there's a lot of stuff out there, but let's see what we get back and how big this marketplace can get, and how, like, what kind of range of products we can get. And we've been floored. I mean, Richmond is, not a massive city, but you can get all of your bath essentials. You can get all of your kitchen essentials. You can get clothing and gifts and stuff like that all locally.
And stuff that's like unique to the community.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's the other thing I think about is like Lokii for like me in Charlottesville would look maybe not completely differently because it's so close, but like look differently than Richmond or New York or LA.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's like you get a local shopping experience in terms of like even the culture, right? Like it gets baked into it just because that's how local shopping works. It's so cool. It's
so cool. It's really, once you do it, it's very addicting. I shop at Mamie's a lot, who's one of our partners, Mamie's Apothecary. And now I get my serum and stuff like that, just like face serum and stuff, from a person who makes it down the street from me.
Wow.
And I can get that delivered now. And I wouldn't have known about those products until I did that. And I do want to mention that I think that there is, I don't want to say a misnomer, but I think that there is an idea that, boutiques and shopping local is inherently more expensive. And I do think that that is the case in some senses. Clothing, especially, you're going to see like somewhat of a higher price tag. Eco-conscious goods in general, you're going to see some of a higher price tag. But I think what Lokii also allows you to do is see, you might be a little intimidated to go into a boutique, and you might see a higher price tag on a clothing item, but you don't see that, oh, they have $10 journals here too, or they have, $5, shower bursts or something like that, or I don't know, different kinds of things that are, even though they're one of a kind, and even though they're local and they're not mass produced, they're at a price that's accessible. And I think that Lokii allows you to scroll through and be like, oh, wow, I can really participate in the local economy, and I may not have thought I could do that before.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that it's also something that you guys, and I don't know how much you discuss or think about it this way, but I think it's also something that you guys will help spur a change in. Like right now, local shopping is more expensive because it is like more niche, I guess. Yeah. Like, right, there aren't as many players, right, in the system, and to compete with Amazon, they have to like raise the price, because like they get less sales, and so they need to, right, like be the boutique, right, all that stuff. But what you guys can start to enable is like more people then will be empowered to have their own local Main Street business, right? More people will be able to participate in the local economy, and it'll just like help revitalize a lot of these communities that have been hit so hard. Like there's some like insane statistics of like how many, it's like 60% of like US malls and retail stores or whatever have closed because of Amazon. Yeah. Like, oh my gosh, like we need to solve that problem for people. Like it's better for people.
Yes. Yeah. I see that. If you read articles about what big box retailers are planning to do in their new strategies, a lot of them are planning to come into main streets and have more boutique, because a lot of their shopping has shifted to online, so they don't need the big malls. So their new strategy, from what I've heard, just in the retail space, is they're looking into getting into areas like our Main Street, Carytown, and Richmond, I don't know if they're looking specifically at Carytown.
Yeah, but like that's an example.
Those type of main streets, you know, get like a small Nordstrom boutique in there, and it could really change the landscape of our cities and what makes our cities unique too. I mean, Richmond is cool because, and every city is cool because of its small businesses, because of its restaurants, because of its stores. And
literally why Sarah and I chose to live in Charlottesville, like after graduating, is like we like to live in a place that has more restaurants per capita than anywhere else in the US, right? All these things. And even we used to live on the downtown mall, and like literally the pandemic hit, and I have pictures of all of the businesses that put up signs saying, I'm sorry, like we can't stay in business anymore. And it's heartbreaking. Like, and it's really just like people talk about the pandemic as an accelerant of like problems that already existed. Like this is just one. Like this isn't new because of the pandemic. And like that's why I think it's amazing. As part of your story, you said like, okay, we can't like not do this now, right? We've had this idea like cooking around, but now the people we are designed to serve need us most, right? And I just think that's amazing, Polly. Like,
thank you.
You and Ryan are fucking awesome.
You're amazing. And I think that just to go back to like what our cities could look like, I think that we think a lot about that, like about increasing frequency so that we can drive down the price of good local goods. They're high, they're boutique, because, you know, I was talking to a business owner the other day, and she told, I'm not going to remember the exact price, but the monthly rent of a space in Carytown that just got opened up, and she was like, no small business can do that unless they're extremely high end and they have really high you know, profit
margin per sale.
Exactly. And so it really pushes out what we would traditionally think of as the mom and pop store, and puts in a lot of like high end or chains. And so if we can increase frequency and we can create a local marketplace that's more accessible and visible to people. I mean, I see like somebody creating an electronics store, which would never happen outside of, you know, in the world that we live in today. That could never happen because there's Best Buy and Amazon. But what if somebody could create something like that? Like just opening up the local economy to, you know, a hardware store could be really cool, local. And you can get it just as fast. So I see it changing the landscape of, you know, prices and the landscape of the type of businesses that we can welcome back into our community that have gotten lost through big box stores.
Yeah, exactly. And then there's just like so much that is powerful about what you guys are doing. And like you mentioned like the idea of hardware store, electronics shop, all these things. Like those are like, that's the stuff I think about all the time is like, because it also, when I say like you're empowering like business owners and consumers, like, I mean too, like you can, because you don't need to even have a big retail thing. Like this is what like Etsy did, right? Like you don't need a certain store to have a store, right? And like that was cool. But what Etsy I think messed up on a little is like the stores on Etsy compete. You know, like and compete at like huge scale, because I'm not necessarily looking to buy stuff from Etsy that is on Etsy in Charlottesville. It's like the people in Charlottesville that are making like antique wood toy things, whatever, have to compete with everyone across the world. And like
you were like on the nose. 100%.
Yeah, and that sucks. And like that's I think about that stuff all the time too, in the context of people starting like entrepreneurial ventures in general, right? Like like even think about people who want to become filmmakers, YouTubers, whatever. Like YouTube in its early day was like, oh my God, we are now empowered as creative people to have a platform to shout out our stuff no matter what. But now we've seen like 13 years later that what it also did was it made it hyper competitive. Like it gave a lot more people access. But now you're competing with literally everyone across the world for everyone's attention. And like, so that's what I really think is important about your unique insight here is like, and I'm not trying to like pitch your thing back to you. I know that you could. I just like, I think it's cool. Is like it becomes more communal, like more like hyper local. Like let's not have to like let's literally empower the people and the consumers to and be more connected, I guess is what I'm trying to say too. Is like it really is like I shop at like Martin's Hardware in Charlottesville is like my local hardware store, and I shop there and like talk to the owner and all that stuff, and it makes me like feel really good. And like like that's what you guys are enabling to happen like at scale in mass with like the powers of Etsy and Amazon, but just with something that's more focused on like the true connection of like why we're doing it, right? Like let's ignore the like hyper capitalism part of it and big scale and all that stuff. It's like what's going to be best for people, like what's going to be best for communities. And it's still huge business opportunity and all that stuff. I'm not saying that it's not. It's just more like I like that you guys are kind of conscious and can still build like potentially huge big thing, but it's also good for humans.
That's so good. I think that can happen. Oh my God. We can build something that makes people feel good and is decent for the world, and it didn't have to be evil. So that's cool. I want to touch on what you said at the beginning a little bit about like the hyper competitiveness. And then I'd love to talk about, you know, how we could build tech to make a better world, but because that's a whole thing there too. But I think that that, you know, we see it in Etsy and we see it on Instagram especially, and when we talk to local businesses, so it kind of depends, but for the most part around 80% of their online sales are local, and so they're putting things out into the world, whether it's on Etsy or if it's on Instagram, that and they're trying to talk to their audience, but they end up getting diluted by these really massive platforms that don't allow them to talk to each other. And at the same time, you know, as the shopper, we're wanting to hear from our small businesses more, but we're seeing accounts. It's not the right platform for what. Yeah,
we can't find them.
We can't find them. They're not showing up. They don't have the ad budgets that you need to show up in those places. I think that's another really big thing. So the small businesses, the response from small businesses to get them on the platform and try delivery and do all that stuff has been a really amazing thing to see and to be a part of, how receptive they are to this kind of new technology. And I think that, you know, the mom and pop stores are now owned by millennials, which is really interesting. When I go to these shops, it's a mixture, but there's people that are our age that own businesses now, and they're like, I want to use technology to make my business better, but they only have a website, and that's not enough.
Like a website, Shopify store, or whatever.
It
doesn't. It's not really you get to play in a marketplace anymore. Like the internet is not a marketplace. Like that's why all these businesses and websites have had to pop up to fit that goal. You guys are just coming in with something that I think is so necessary and like is shocking to me that like Etsy didn't do that. Like
it is interesting.
You know, and then
I got frustrated even when Etsy was another light bulb that I had for the idea for Lokii. I was looking for an elopement dress. We didn't want like a regular wedding dress, so I just wanted like a white dress.
That's so cool.
Nice, you know. And I was looking on Etsy, and all the things that were coming up were like dresses from Russia, and I was like, I lived in Los Angeles at the time. I was like, I know that there's something
that people make dresses here.
And not even just wedding dresses. I just wanted a white dress, and I couldn't. And I was stuck on Etsy, looking in places from like Australia, and I'm like, why is this happening? It makes no sense logistically, paying like so much shipping and all of that stuff. So it doesn't make sense from both perspectives at all. So I'm interested why that didn't happen. I think that they're trying to do some more local stuff, but it doesn't really fit with exactly how their platform works right now, whereas we're very hyper local. So
it's like the whole point. Low key.
You got it. That's the
I nailed it. Yes. Okay, Polly, transitioning a little. I want to talk a little more about like, and in like our like business, share progress, not perfection, like all that stuff. Like, talk to me about the struggles of like starting a socially conscious business. Just and like, just talk to me.
Yeah. I mean, I think that I mean, I can talk on like a big level, and then I can talk on like a personal level. I think that
Sure.
on a big level, I'm very cognizant of what other companies have done in the past and where they've dropped the ball. So for Grubhub and Postmates and all that stuff, the way that they structured their partnership with businesses actually makes a lot of shoppers not want to use them because they're not great partners with the stores or the restaurants that they support. So I think that at the key of what we do at Lokii has been to make sure that we're getting paid, and it's great. And then we plan to make money, like you said. But at the heart of what we do, it's got to be mutually beneficial for the stores. And we want to make sure that they feel really good about promoting Lokii on their end, and that it just makes sense. So that partnership is key to us because I think it's important to not only the store, but it's important to the shopper that shops on Lokii, so that they know that when they support somebody on Lokii, that it's a good partnership and that we're doing our best to support the stores. So that's something I'm conscious of as kind of a conscious company, socially conscious company. And I think from like a founder perspective, I think it's high highs, low lows. You know what I mean? It's just a very crazy thing. You know, we keep asking at the beginning, like friends and family, do you think I'm crazy for trying to do this? Like, this sounds maybe crazy, but, and I think that that's with any business venture, not necessarily because it was Lokii, but because it's such a big idea and it's such an exciting idea. I was a little bit scared of it in the beginning, and I think just tackling it day by day has been really helpful. So launching as soon as possible was such a big mantra that we had in the beginning. Like, doesn't matter, we don't need this extravagant launch, we just need to get something out there. And then kind of realizing that everything's not going to happen overnight. I think when you start building a business, you're like, okay, Forbes, no problem, I'll be there in a second. You know what I mean? But it's like, no, there's a reason it takes a while, because there's so much learnings that you get along the way. You know,
and that takes time.
It takes time, and it allows you to tinker with the product in a way that you wouldn't be able to do that if you just blast it off nationally or something. So we're really keen on focusing on Richmond and doing this really well, which is actually what most successful marketplaces have done in the past, is focused on one market, like Airbnb and Lyft and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
We've always focused on a geographical market and then been able to replicate that elsewhere. So that's kind of how we're thinking about growing. And I think it's just, I attribute it to going, it feels like I'm going 35 and a 75. Like, I just want to, I want to go fast, you know, but I think there is some patience involved with doing a startup. And yeah, that's been just a little tricky for me, like personally. I just want to do everything all at once, but
yeah. And also the communication to people like you, right? Like, is that you should you should be blasting off, you should go out and raise like $1 bazillion and like go big and fast, or else somebody's going to copy you, or like all these things. And that gets in your head of like, I don't know, that feels inconsistent with like what's actually going to help the business and like actually help us tackle and solve this problem. I was having a conversation this morning with another member, Joshua, and we were talking about how like hustle culture is like VC propaganda. And basically this whole idea of you, like if things aren't going well, or like you're not going like to the moon, it's because of you and you need to work harder. When in reality, like you have limited capacity, right? And like you could be working really, really hard. Things could still not be working out because, like you said, there's a lot of learning that needs to happen. And then by extension, the whole idea of, oh, if things aren't going well, like it's all up to you, you need to work harder, is like dumb. It should be like, oh, you need help, right? Like we have this whole cultural idea that like we don't ask for help from people because it's supposed to be very individualized. This is my thing. I'm like, if I'm not doing this, then it's on me, right? And they all want you to believe that. All of the people that are incentivized to make you feel alone, like you're banging your head against brick walls and like you're just like pummeling trying to solve the next problem. Like you feel like you're going 35 and a 75 when the people that want you to feel slow are the people that are selling you like better gas. Right? They're like, oh, well, it's 75.
Half of your company, please.
Yeah, exactly. Like here, I'll take my bulldozer and break that brick wall for you for 20% of your company, and I don't have to do any work. Right? Like that's truly what's happening. And
I think that what it's also done is it's made it so that founders in the early days, and I fell into this trap at the beginning, are more concerned with raising money than they are with actually building the product. Like, that was like, I remember when I first started Lokii, like, I got to get my pitch deck together. I hadn't even proved a concept. I didn't have an MVP. I didn't have
wireframes.
I maybe had, I had a logo. You know what I mean? And that, you know, I talked to one founder who was saying that, you know, I needed to go out and get funding before I made any mistakes so that I could get funding. And so that they bought in on the idea, not the actual product or something like that. I was like,
no, but that's real.
Like, I don't want to take money unless I know that I can do well with it. And I'm feeling more and more confident with that today than I was when it was just an idea. When it was just an idea, it was kind of like, I think this can work. But now we're starting to get some revenue. Now we're starting to get some traction. We have some real user insights. Like, we have these things that now it's feeling like a closer time. And I think that there's also the thing that, like, your goal shouldn't be to raise money. Your goal should be to build
a business that is sustainable and solves the problem.
And do I think that investors will be a part of that at some point? Absolutely. I think that, you know, the rate at which we want to build is going to involve investors, but that's not our goal. Our goal isn't to get millions of dollars in investment. Our goal is to get millions of dollars in profit. Like, that's our goal. So, and I think that in the startup world, that is a very big misnomer. You're selling your company away, and unless you can you know that you can get good returns on that, there's no reason you should sell pieces of your company away.
But again, let's go back to like who benefits, right? Like, because you mentioned that founder who was like, well, I don't want to make any mistakes or whatever. I want to sell the idea to get the investment, right? Like, that's real. Like, that's a really, like, that's how this game plays out. That's why people with like absolutely nothing can go out and say like, oh, we've got this like real machine learning, like blah, blah, blah thing to like do whatever. And you see them in Hacker News or whatever as raising like millions of dollars. Like,
and they fail. Or, you know, you'll hear
exactly. But again, it's because who benefits? Who benefits at getting them at that super early stage, right? Where they don't have any traction, they don't have any real confidence yet, all that stuff. Like you, Polly, you go out raising money, you will raise at higher evaluations, right? You'll raise with more confidence. You'll be more stringent on like who you get into your cap table, right?
Than just like, please give me any money.
Yeah, rather than please, so I can build the thing, right? And so again, it's propaganda. It's like, oh, let's, you know, before you go out and like make a mistake that'll make your company look uninvestable. You should just raise money now. And like, I'll own more of your company, right? But at least you'll have raised, because there are so many people that then walk out and be like, yeah, we've learned a lot of stuff, right? Like we have some early traction, but like there are some problems, like our cash flow is weird and like all these things that then are less likely to be invested in, even though they have like tested out more assumptions and have learned more. And it's like this
on what's going on. Yeah.
Yeah, more experts on what's going on. It's like absolutely bizarre.
Yeah. But what it does, is it puts the founder in a position of taking anything. My dad was talking to me about Shark Tank the other day, which I don't actually watch that, but he was saying that this person wanted like $100,000 for like 40% of the company. I was like, you know what I mean? Just like think, and I don't know if it's that. I haven't heard those kind of evaluations in the tech space or those kind of partnerships in the tech space, but it's just, but they need it at that time. So it's really, it's not.
Yeah, they want to make you manufacture need.
And it's
right?
a good mindset as a founder. It's really not like it's just not a way. You should just be obsessed with your product, making it better and making your own profit so that you do have that strength, to your point, to have a better conversation with these people, and more collaborative conversation rather than please give me anything and you can have whatever.
Yeah, exactly. And then you have safety. This is like the other thing where like applying to accelerator programs, whatever, you're like knocked off if you're not full time. And to me, I'm like, well, to be full-time on something like this, right? You need support, you need financial stability, you need healthcare, you need like all these things that give you the safety net to be courageous and venture out into the unknown, right? Whereas we're telling everyone like, oh, you're not fully committed, right? Like, oh, you don't really care about this, you're not serious. I'm like, fuck you. Like my co-founder works a full-time job so that he can maintain his health care and so that he can pay for all the expenses of running our business. Right. That's like a good move.
Yes.
Like
it's smart. It's smart to, and it's smart to scale at a rate that's healthy for whatever your situation is.
Whatever your situation is and what you're doing. And again, it goes back to like, who does it benefit that we're telling everyone like, just quit your job. Right? Like you need to want it, right? So just like get rid of all your stability and quit your job. Who does that benefit? Right? It's all the people that can come in and be like, oh, you don't have any money anymore? Right? Oh, here, take my money. Right?
Because it's really a drop in the bucket for a lot. Like, it means a lot to us as new founders, is a drop in the bucket. So it doesn't have the same weight.
Yes, they're manipulating us to have need. Yeah. And what I was telling Joshua this morning is like, what we're trying to do at Lumastic, right, is like change this culture for the creators, for the entrepreneurs, the makers, right? Where like right now, when you have problems, right, it feels on you. It's like, oh, I'm not working hard enough. I'm not doing enough. Maybe I need to go out and give like a % of my company to like some accelerator or VC or whatever. When in reality, there are so many of us that like, we don't need the bulldozer a lot of the time.
No.
What we need is like 5 more of us, right? And we'll like tear down the wall and you can keep going. Like, and they don't want us to know that, Polly. They literally want to keep us siloed and alone and like banging our head against the brick wall. And so like when we're coming, even this series, like even the things I'm spouting on like right now, like I have been afraid to start saying these things because it means like we are attacking the big kahunas, right? Like I have said this to you before. It's this like quote from that Casey Neistat video of like, they're all on the top deck of the Titanic drinking champagne and we're the iceberg. Because right now we're all our little own snowy floaty islands, but like when we coalesce, come together, like they'll see this little thing on top and they won't see the entire 80%, the millions and millions of us that can all say like, actually we don't need you anymore. Like we'll need your money maybe eventually, but by then we're more empowered. Like
I totally agree. I think that's what we're really excited to have some revenue to play with here and there. We've put a little bit of a friends and family round. You know, there's stuff that you can do. I think that you hear that all the time. There's always stuff that you can do to make it work. And if you're scrappy enough and you don't just focus, if you focus more on the product and like, how can we monetize this, then you can bypass that to some extent, or as long as possible.
And literally say like, ask for help, right? Like you raising friends and family around, like not from big institutional VC investors, whatever. Well, first of all, it's like good. There's luck involved in like having access to those people. But second of all, it's like your like ability to go against the grain and be like, no, I'm just going to literally ask for help from people I know. Right. Like rather than feeling like it's all on me. Right. Like, that's the true power of like building a community and a support system around the thing you're working on.
And talking to, like, I think what you've created at Lumastic is so great, because talking to other founders, you understand different ways and different ways that people can, sorry, can you hear my text messages or no?
Yeah, I can, but that's fine.
Okay, sorry.
This is a casual podcast, Polly.
So I think that it with community, it allows you to understand what people have gone through, either if they've done VC funding, and what pitfalls they've had and what maybe successes they've had, or if they've done crowdfunding, if they've done friends and family. So it really demystifies all of that when you create community and you start talking about the things that maybe don't come out in a quick one-on-one at like a networking meeting. If you can have your communication and relationships with other founders, you are empowered and you can learn from other people's experiences. Yeah,
exactly. So Polly, the last question that we ask here is like, how can we help? Right? Like, the age-old thing of like, give the ask, right? Like where can people go to download the stuff? Like, even like, what problem are you experiencing right now that maybe somebody could help with? Just lay it on us.
Yes. So, I think one of the best ways is to download Lokii. So, cool. So we are live our delivery is live in Richmond, Virginia. So if you're in Richmond, Virginia, please download it. Please try it out. We are so excited by every purchase. So are the small businesses that we support. And we also are live, not with delivery, but we have a really massive marketplace in New York, Chicago, Los Angeles as well. So you can hop on and look at products on there, and buy products on there just through the individual retailers' websites. So that's one thing. So you can go to the App Store. It's Lokii. Just search for that, and we're the first thing that pops up. And I think other than that, I would love for people to join our movement on Instagram as well. So Lokii_app. So LOKII_app. That is another really big one, because I think that you can kind of keep in touch with how we're growing and what we're doing, and really see what we're bringing to the table in terms of thought leadership and how we can build a better world and all of that stuff. So sharing those resources and encouraging other people to be more cognizant of shopping small and shopping local. And if you're a small business as well, please reach out to us. If you're not in the Richmond, even if you're not in the Richmond area, we love communicating with small businesses to learn and develop new features and stuff. So that would be the last thing. If you're a small business, please reach out. We would love to chat with you.
Boom. All right. I will leave links to all those things in the description of this video, wherever you are listening to this, dear listener. Cool. Polly, thanks so much for spending your Friday morning with me. I hope that this was fun.
It's fun. I woke up in like a really fun mood this morning. I was like, I get to talk to Drew this morning. So it's a good start to cruise into the weekend.
Killer. All right. Well, yeah, thanks for being here. Good luck with everything. I'm crossing my fingers and toes about your Lighthouse Labs application, and yeah, keep up the good work.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Drew.